Hey YouTube, I'm going to be going to a sawmill video, but what I just wanted to show was when you put a board underneath on this planer, and they recommend you put one on to do molding, because the cutter sometimes cuts into the table on the edge, which is fine, but when you put the board on, the scale is no longer any good. And the worst thing about that is, even with a piece of 1/2 inch MDF, you can't get the scale to work. So I had to make another scale. I crossed off the metric system. I hate that, but anyway, you have to make a longer scale and cut a long enough piece in there to be able to get it to measure. So anyway, right now I have this thing set to cut a 3/4 inch board. I checked it with a vernier caliper and it does well. It's right at 3/4, and you can see that the mark there would be at 3/4 as well. So it's just a little something about, you have to make a new tab of some kind. I made this one out of metal to be able to find your mark. It's not supposed to rain today, but it doesn't look like it to me. It looks like it's going to rain any second. This is pine here, guys, in case you're wondering. Okay, guys, the sawmill's warmed up. I shut it off so I could talk. Going to start it up. I got a 12-foot 3-inch log length, a 10-inch cant. That'll give me a 7-inch a 10-inch wide log, 7-inch cant. So I should be able to get a 1x off of that, and then 3 2x6s. 2 for 6, 3 2x6s. So here we go. The other day I had my first complaint that somebody said I talk too much and I should do more work. Man, these people are a riot. Anyway, I'm going to talk too much and not do any work today, so just wanted to show you this. This is something that, another way of knowing whether you're going too far for the cant that you're trying to cut, whether you know you've gone too far or not. So what I do is put the tape right where the blade meets the log here on this side, and I pull it over to that side, and if you see there it says 6 inches. So now I know I want a 7-inch cant. So what I can do is go down there a little bit to see where the 7-inch cant is, say from edge of bark to edge of bark, and it's right about there. Okay, so if I measure from the edge to that edge, I got 7 inches from here to there. Now here's the thing, that tells you, it should tell you where the cant is, the top of the cant, and you won't go any further than that. The way to check that then is to pull down here 7 inches, remember the mark you're at, and measure across there. So if you have 7 inches, then go ahead and cut this. If you were to measure down 7 and then the width and it's not 7, then what you want to do is raise the head and cut it a little bit higher so that you don't lose the 7-inch cant. So right now I'm confident that I'm going to get a 7-inch cant out of here, so I'm just going to run it down the lumber or the log the way I have it, and you'll see what happens there. Why you want to put the small end of the log up at this end so that you can know what you're going to have. If that end's bigger than this end, whatever you do here should be good down there. Okay, now if you look at the tape, from here I have 7 inches, and that's right from the edge of the bark to the edge of the bark. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a nice straight tree. I'm going to leave that as the final cut. Just move this off the log here. So now all you have to do is you can turn it any way you want. You can turn it this direction, you do one foot, which would be 90. You can turn it 180. It doesn't matter because the log is so straight. One thing you want to do though is the center of this pith on this log is not necessarily the center of the tree. The center of the tree is over this direction more. The pith is right in front of my finger, but the center of the tree is over here. So in order to keep the center of the tree at this end and the pith at the other, you may have to keep this on a toe board here. So I'm going to roll this 180 degrees, which means the toe board comes completely out. So we take the toe board out, roll it 180. And I've had all kind of comments about, you know, why turn it this far, that far, or whatever. Get yourself a sawmill and then you'll know why I'm doing it. I don't cut straight to the cant. I almost always give myself a little leeway just in case. But this time I'm going to go right to the cant just to show you the shortest path to it. So now I can go 7 inches off the bunk, but I like to give myself a little bit extra because, you know, you lose that saw curve. So if I gave myself 3/8, that should do it. So I'm going to take it up just a little bit. So 1, 2, that would be 3/8 there. And that'll give me some room to cut boards out of there and still have my 2-inch boards. Here I have 7 inches, but because I came up a little bit, I'm short down at that end for 7. So I got 6 inches down there. So what I can do here is I can cut a 1-inch board. Remember I said I was going to cut a 1-inch board and then 3 2x6s? That's what I'm going to get out of that. So there's my 1-inch board. Because the tree had a slight bow in it, in the middle, just very slight. I'm going to end up with a 1x6 off of this if I use this base. So now I'll come down here. I want to make sure I don't take any more than this 7 inches out of here. So if I come down to, you know, maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches, this is 10 inches altogether, I'll be able to get that 7-inch cant I want out of this. So I'll come down there 1 inch. I want to see if I can end up with something a little bit wider. I doubt if I will. Well guys, I don't know where that ended. That shot was taken, but I just had to go get a battery. So I put another battery in here. My wife's making a pot of homemade chicken soup. It smells really good in there. Anyway, okay guys, so the camera died at the end of the bottom cut there, I believe. So here's what I got so far out of this. It was a 10-inch cant. There's 3 2x6s left in the cant, which I'm going to take out of there. Because this log had a little bit of a bend into it, and the taper that it had, you can see that down here by the 12-foot mark, there's not enough room left on there to really pull a nice 1-inch board out of that. Maybe a 1x2, but not something significant. So if I take the tape measure, let me just back up here. If I take the tape measure and measure down here 8 feet, which is right here, right where I'm showing you there, from here up I have a 1-inch board in there. So I'm going to take this and just lay it to the side while I cut the 2x6s out of this thing, and then I'm going to take and cut a 1-inch board out of this and then cut it off at 8 feet. So that'll give me this 1x6 that I had in there, and that'll give me 2 2x6s. Man, this wood is nice. Look at how nice that cant is. It's laying perfectly on all the bunks there. Really nice. I love when this stuff looks like this. cut that flitch, or cut the edge off of both sides of that board, and I'll have a 1x4 there then when I'm done. Cutting lumber, sometimes you have to play it smart. Now if you look at that board, there's a little bit of wane at this end and there's some at the other end on this side. If I make that an 8-footer, I will lose the wane on both sides. I'll also lose that blue streak because I can take 2 foot out of each end. And sometimes it pays to cut that out of there and then have yourself a nice looking board, because there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, there'll be 5 knots in the 8-footer and each of them are less than an inch big. So, you know, premium lumber there if that's what you do to it. Otherwise, because of the wane, you're going to have to call it something slightly less. Okay, so I put that first flitch on there. I cut off the first board that I cut off. That was something that I could use. And the way it's sitting there, I'm going to cut it at 8 inches off the bunk. show you this, what you can run into sometimes here. So what I have at this end, I can get a 1x6 out of this. Okay, 1x6. 1x6. Here I lost the 1x6, although on this side it would look like a good face board 1x6. So I'll cut it. I could cut it into a 1x6. When I get down here though, I lose the board. You see the 6 is up into that pretty heavy wane. Now I can either cut a 12-foot 1x6 and have some wane. I could cut it 1x4 and get rid of the wane, or I could make it 8 foot. Now since there's some wane in the very center here, I may as well just go ahead and cut this whole board at a 1x6 and then see if I want to cut it off at the 8 foot mark or the 10 foot mark. That's the one thing nice about having a sawmill, that you can do custom cutting, because you can get as much out of a board as you possibly can. I'm going to cut that right at the 6-inch mark. It'll be above the stops that I have on there. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. See, it's a good 1x6 here, and I got a good face over there until I get down here near the 12-inch or the 12-foot mark, 10-foot mark. Let's see what I have here. Okay, that's 10, 8. So the 8-foot board would be right here. So that would give me a nice face and edge. I can pull this. This isn't bothering me here because I got about 3/4 or 5/8 of an inch of white board there. So I should cut this off at 8 feet and then just stick it in the kiln, and that'll make a nice face board for maybe nailing on the end of rafters, or you know, just some utility type thing. I wouldn't want to use it for furniture, but something like a utility board for something. Could probably use the whole 12-footer, but I don't want to have to put this. If it's 12 foot, I got to dry it outside, because right now I'm drying 8-footers and I need 8-footers in my kiln. So I'll cut that off at 8 foot, as well as well, that 1x4. Yeah, I'm going to cut this off at 8 foot as well. That top 1x4 I'll cut at 8 foot. Nice 2x6s. Very nice. Nice tight knots in them. Nice and straight. Good straight grain all the way down through. Nice. Oh, there's some 1x2 left here. Now these are 8-footers here. So I could use these for furring strips, I guess. This one's a little thick. Trim that down. Again, that's what's nice about having your own sawmill. You can custom cut stuff. You don't have to use what you have. You don't have to play around with a table saw or anything. You can just put it on the mill and cut.